Hello, hello, hello. I see there's 9 people here already, so thank you guys for waiting and hanging out until the live stream started. I'm going to wait just a second and make sure audio and video is good, so somebody can let me know if audio video is good. I appreciate it, and going to let the notification go out and see who filters in. I believe Rob93 was the last live streamer. Papa Shrimp is here. He is the one that I was talking about last week. Had a fire in his house, and he lost a lot of personal belongings in his fish room. And I hope Papa Shrimp is getting that worked out. Michael LeMay is here. That is one of my coworkers. Hello, Mikey. GRB Aquatics is here. Hello. Richard said, seriously, my dude, love your shit. Please, an update on Oscar and Green Terror. I don't have an Oscar or a Green Terror, so not sure what that's about. Fishy Fun said, Rob is going long. So I have a lot to talk about tonight. The live streams on Wednesday are only an hour long. I made my list again. The first thing I want to talk about is Ohio Fish Rescue, and I was up there last weekend. I was up there Saturday and Sunday. I stayed the night there, and we just hung out. It was just Big Rich, Josh, and myself. We hung out down their basement and listened to some really good music, and Rich got his guitar out and played some music too, and it was a good time just to hang out with friends. Tracy's still in the hospital, so I think it was good that we all just kind of hung out as friends and got to talk a lot and whatnot. After talking to Josh about my channel goals and trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so I can do live mobile streaming, because I think it'd be really awesome to be able to stream live from Ohio Fish Rescue when I'm there, outside of their live stream time on Friday. And Big Rich said, go ahead and post on the Facebook group, and they would promote my channel to try to get me to that 1,000 sub mark. And so I did, and we are almost there. Right before I went live, I checked, I'm at 947 subscribers. So thank you, everybody that came from OFR and are showing your support for my channel. I really do appreciate it. I'll get to 1,000, I'm sure, here in a week or so, or even quicker. I just want to let everybody know I really appreciate you subscribing. Even if you don't hit that notification bell, just hitting that subscribe button helps a lot. And super close to being able to live stream from my cell phone when I'm out and about, not here at my house. Looks like there's a bunch of people coming in right now. Peplin Creek's here. Hello. Aquarium Thoughts. Tiffany White's here. Carrie Nature. Pam's here. Zen Ginger's here. Chevy Fish is here. There's so many people here, and I do appreciate it. So I wanted to say to Ohio Fish Rescue, if they catch this live stream, either live or later, thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. I've grown 50% or over 50% in like 4 days. My channel has doubled in 4 days, and I owe all that to Ohio Fish Rescue. So thank you so much. Going along with Ohio Fish Rescue, I've been talking to Josh a lot lately. If you don't know, I built a steel stand for their 500-gallon cube aquarium, and after I built it for them, it was a donation to the Fish Rescue. I didn't charge them for it at all. My uncle's steel company donated the steel, and then I did the fabrication on it. They liked it so much, they actually wanted to buy more steel stands for some projects that they have planned for this year. And one is at the steel mill getting cut to length for me. And then I'm hoping I can start fabrication on it next week. And so they have some big things going on. They have a lot I'm sure most of you follow Ohio Fish Rescue, but they have a lot of stuff going on this year. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to mention because they're going to have videos that announce these projects and stuff like that. I don't know what they want public. Luckily for me, I have a lot of insider information of what's going on, and especially since I'm involved in some of those projects personally, and just helping out with like labor and wherever they need. And then my company is also going to be helping them out as well. So we got some cool projects that we're going to collaborate together with this year. I know that they have Aquascape. Greg the Pond Guy's doing a big koi pond in their backyard. They still have the Bellagio tanks that they're working with, and I know they mentioned that they're expanding their fish room to house those tanks. Instead of being right next to the pool, they're going to build off on the side to house those tanks. And working with Josh, we're going to kind of collaborate on a couple things, which I'm really excited about. I don't really want to mention what they are just because that's going to be future content for their channel and my channel. But there's some really cool things happening. And what's super awesome is that we're going to be able to get their community involved with all the tanks. And there's going to possibly be a way that the community can get involved with each tank. But that's a future thing. They'll probably talk about it once that's further along in the planning phase, and they decide to let everybody know what's going on. But it's going to be really awesome. So look for some Ohio Fish Rescue things between SC Aquatics and them sometime maybe this summer, but it's going to be sweet. I'm just going to go down my list before I jump into the chat, just so that way I know I can get all the stuff I want to talk about out, and then we'll go to the community and see how everybody's doing tonight. And it's Wednesday, so I hope your week's going great. And, just 2 more days of work if you work a normal work week. So, hang in there if it's tough for you, but, you'll get through it. So the first thing on my list is the website. I did update some things on it over this past week or so. I do have email subscription. If you want to sign up for the email, you just go to the website. It pops up a box if you want to subscribe. It's not like I'm selling your email. That's directly from me to you. Anytime I run like a special sale, or once a month, I'm going to do an email about products, like what's new on the website that you can look into. I'll do an email that lists all that stuff. And right now there's Congo Tetras are on sale, and that would be something that would be in that email. So if you're not subscribed to that email, you might want to sign up. And if you sign up, you get a discount code you can use all the time. It's the same as if you're using the YouTube code, but in the future, I'm going to do like specific subscriber discounts. So it'd be like double dipping on discount codes. So that's something that, might motivate you to sign up for an email, especially if you want to keep in the loop of what fish come in, because I'm bringing in different fish each order. So if you really want to keep up to date without having to go to my website, daily to see what's new, the email is a great thing to sign up for. Another thing on the website is, instead of doing like text posts of what's new, I'm doing images. I think it's a little bit cleaner looking, and it's real quick to grasp what's going on. So I have 3 images on there now. They just cycle through like a slideshow. One's the Congo Tetras that's on sale. One's showing the lights. When I brought in the Phoenix lights, it's a link just to the lights. And then the third one is a link to the alder cones, which is this new 614 botanical line. And so I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to spam like a bunch of pictures across the front of the website. It's just going to be, I'm hoping 3, maybe 4 pictures at a time. And I'll cycle those out with new sales and whatever's new at that time. A bonus is fish shipping was reduced. Instead of $24.99, flat rate shipping is now $19.99. Weather's starting to warm up and shipping can be extended. I don't have to overnight fish because the weather is warm enough now. And so I was able to pass on some savings to you guys. So shipping is down a little bit in cost. Talked about the subscriber emails. So new products that are on the website that I added, I believe this week, TDS meters are on there. It's the same TDS meter I use in my fish room. It reads TDS and temperature. And the cool thing is it can read Fahrenheit or Celsius. So if you get any kind of technical articles on fish and all the temperatures are written in Celsius, and if you're in the United States and you don't have a conversion chart or you just don't know, you can just flip that TDS meter over to Celsius, because that's what I do. And that's really the only reason to use it that I can see. I believe those are $9.99, and the manufacturer didn't send batteries with it. So I've had these meters for months and months, but I didn't want to sell them without batteries because it takes this like little coin cell battery. And I finally found ones that work with it. I bought batteries from them all, and I put batteries in them, and I tested them all and make sure they all work. And so they're $10, includes batteries, everything ready to go. If you need a TDS meter, they're on the website now. Shrimp caves, and I actually have one sitting here. So these guys I've also had for a long time. I even did photos on them a long time ago. I just been busy, and these kind of got put on the back burner, and then I forgot they were back there. These are online. I think they're like $5.50. They're porcelain, and you can kind of see the size here. These are great for shrimp, and you can also put moss in here and let the moss kind of come out through the holes. And there's limited quantity on that because I was testing a supplier and I didn't want to invest into a big bulk order. So there's not that many of these available. If they sell out or sell consistently, then I'll order more. But just to let you know, there's not that many available. What was the other new thing? Pipettes. I don't have one in here, but pipette is just like the plastic little, almost like a syringe. You squeeze the bulb on the back, it sucks up fluid. I had somebody ask for some, so I ended up buying them. They're 25 cents. They're mainly used for like medications. If you're dosing, the big one would be like ICX, some sort of liquid medication. The other thing that they're great for is fertilizers. So if you get into making your own fertilizer, or if you are dosing fertilizer out of a bottle, you can use them. They're 25 cents, so they're not super expensive. It's kind of like one of those add-on, like, oh, I'm buying fish food, let me grab 4 of these pipettes just to keep a spare around. You know, I keep them in the fish room, and I use them mainly with the Hikari ICX on the smaller tanks. So I just saw my EDD. So I just saw Chevy Fish said that was thoughtful to add a button cell batteries to the TDS meters. Thank you. Yeah, so I just know that if I were to buy a TDS meter, got it in the mail, and then found out I can't even use it because there's no batteries, that's a problem. But the bigger problem is it's these crazy tiny little batteries, and it's not like a common, like, bigger coin cell battery. They're the little button cells or whatever you want to call them. They're tiny, and they have to be so thick to fit in there. So it took me a while to find them. I finally found them, and I bought them, and I put them in, because if you buy TDS meter, I want you to be able to use it right out of the box. I don't want you to have to go buy other products just to be able to use what you bought. So that's why I never listed on the website until now. So I want to mention what's new around here, what's going on with me in the business. Steadily, month after month, it's growing, which is great. One of the things I ran into, and I really should have did this a long time ago, was I finally bought a foam cutting table. It's just a hot wire cut styrofoam, but I was cutting all the styrofoam liners for my boxes when I ship out fish and snails and shrimp. I was cutting it by hand, and as the business is growing, I need more and more boxes ready each week. I typically ship out on Wednesdays, priority mail, and the previous weekend I would try to cut all the styrofoam, and it just became a chore and sometimes a mess. So I finally bought an actual table. It's pretty big, but man, I was able to make enough inserts to do like 10 boxes, and I made it within like a few minutes. Once I had it dialed into the correct size, it was quick. So that's one thing that I got, and it just makes my life easier. It's kind of like when you do an auto water change. It's like once you do it, you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? That's one of those things. So if anybody here gets into selling their fish or shrimp, and you do it quite often, get yourself a table. I had like a handheld hot wire cutter, and it didn't work that well because it was only able to cut so deep, and the table makes a world of difference. So that's something that's new. The other thing that's new is, as I mentioned earlier, I got this 614 botanical line that I'm trying to roll out. I started with the alder cones. I saw Jerry, who's Papa Shrimp. He ordered some the other week, and I saw him say that they were great. So I'm glad that he got them. I sent him both different sizes, the 1/2 ounce package and the 2.5 ounce package, just so you can see like the difference in the size, like the quantity that you get. But I did get, I think, 6 to 8 more different kinds of botanicals in yesterday. I honestly haven't even opened the package yet just because I've been too busy with a bunch of things going on. So I'm hoping that I can get some time, maybe Sunday. Actually, I won't be able to Sunday. Sunday is going to be a Sunday fun day for me. I'm stepping away from the business on Sunday, and me and I think 4, maybe 5 coworkers are going to take our four-wheelers out and go off-roading down in southern Ohio. So I'm looking forward to that, just to unwind and I guess get out in nature and do some four-wheeling. I just saw Mikey LeMay post, yes, writing. He is one of my coworkers that is going, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting away from working on cars and working on the fish business just for a day, and letting loose with some friends. It'll be fun. So yeah, so the botanicals, maybe I'll be able to get to them maybe Saturday night and start figuring out packaging for those. It's probably going to be packaged the same way as the alder cones. It's going to be done by weight, unless it's like specific pieces. Then it's going to be by pieces. But I like doing by weight because I rather have people, because it's a natural product. Botanicals are naturals, so you're going to have different sizes, especially with like the alder cones. You might have a little bit bigger ones and smaller ones. So when I see people online selling like 25 pieces of alder cones, you might get 25 really tiny ones, or you might get 25 really big ones. I think the best way to do it is to do it by weight. And that's how I do it. I have a scale that I use for my mail, and I weigh it out. So that way, if you get tiny ones, big ones will make up for it, but you're all getting the same amount. And so depending on these new botanicals, honestly, a lot of them are probably going to be by pieces because there's like a lot of pods and stuff like that. So, but yeah, hopefully that will be online soon, and that will be another email. So like I said, if you're not subscribed to the email, you might want to, because people on the email list will get that information first. So whenever something will go online, they'll get an email saying like, hey, the botanical line's online. So that way, if it's a limited quantity of what's posted, they kind of have first dibs. And I know like a lot of channels might do something like this. A lot of people with Patreon accounts that have fish rooms. I know like Lucas Bretz has a Patreon, so he allows his Patreon people to get like first dibs at his livestock. Well, I don't have a Patreon or anything, so I'm kind of doing this as the email subscribers get first dib. And so I think that's the route I want to go. I don't want to do a Patreon and have people pay for first dibs. I feel like email marketing, it's a quick way that you can open an email, while you're on lunch break, while you're at home, while you're waiting at a doctor's office. You can scroll through that email real quick and be like, oh, he's got this in stock. Let me order that while I'm waiting, or something like that. You don't have to pay for that because it's benefiting me. I don't want to charge anybody for that, but So I don't want to ramble on too much about that. Um, Blogs. So I posted on the, that's another thing I would talk about. So I posted on the SC Aquatics Facebook page, looking for blog writers, and I had a couple people post some ideas for future blogs, and one was Papa Shrimp, and he helps me a ton with my business. So Jerry, thank you so much for always helping me out with ideas. And like I said before in previous live streams, I bounce a lot of ideas off him, see what he thinks, and he's been kind of testing products for me, if you will, at least buying stuff and giving me feedback, stuff like that. So that's very helpful. But he mentioned doing a blog article on electricity and your fish room, as far as like heaters and running all that stuff, because he did have an electrical fire at his house last week. So that's kind of a near and dear topic to him because he's experienced that issue. So I thought that might be a good topic to go into. So I might break that down into a few different pieces of information. And I think the easiest one is talking about like heating. I think I want to talk about heating your room versus your tanks if you have a fish room. And a fish room obviously could be your basement. In my instance, it's a laundry room. My laundry room is really big, and it just made sense for me to use it because it has a water drain. It has hot water, it has cold water, and it wasn't used for like a bedroom or anything like that. But people use garages, spare bedrooms. There's a lot of different rooms that people use, and I want to talk about. I use two different heaters, so I have experience now with oil-filled heaters and what I'm just calling the forced air heater. It's an electric heater. It's got the heat coils and it's got a blower fan. It blows air through the box and it heats your room. It's like a space heater, I guess. I've used both, and I know which one's better for what. There are pros and cons of both, and they're both similarly priced. I believe I paid within probably $10 of each other for each of these. Super easy to get. I think I got the oil filled heater off of Amazon, and I got my space heater from Menards. You can get them at like Home Depot and places like that. And if anybody has questions, make sure you tag me using the @ symbol, because it makes it, if you don't know, it makes it orange on my screen, so that way I can see the question. There's 29 people in here. Well, now there's 30 people in here. That's more than I'm used to seeing in a chat. So the chat's jumping on me. So if you have a question, just tag me and then I'll try to get to it. I see the moderators are doing an awesome job, as always. I just want to let my mods know I really appreciate you guys helping me out, especially now that the channel is growing. And like I said, I doubled in size in like 4 days. So moderators are going to be doing more and more work for me, and I really appreciate you guys. And Haley's a moderator, and she can say that if you guys ever need help on getting products, just shoot me an email or send me a message through Facebook, and I will definitely help you guys out because I appreciate you guys moderating for me. And Bob, I just want to let you know you would be a mod too, but I saw that you don't want to do all the work, so that's the one reason you're not a mod, Bob. So back to the blog. So I'm going to start with the heating a fish room and why I think you should heat a fish room. And there's some things I've ran into doing it that way. The biggest reason I did it is cost efficiency. It's way more efficient to heat your room versus individual tanks. If you have, say, more than 10 to 15 tanks, for sure it's way easier. There's definitely pros to just heating individual tanks, but I think the cons way outweigh the pros for it. Bob says I got nothing. I got enough, but thanks. For sure, Bob. Some of the cons I could say right now is if you got 20 tanks and you're heating them individually, if a heater goes bad, and a heater can go bad in multiple ways, it could. Oddball Aquatic Scott box today. Thank you. You forgot to put stickers in there. I did forget to put stickers in there. And what's funny is I forgot to put stickers in there, realized it when I went to the post office, and thought I would just send you another package with stickers in it. And then I forgot to do that. Yeah. So about that. If you happen to drive through Columbus on your way there, holler at me and I'll get you the stickers. But I guess you'll just have to do more verbal promotion. And what Haley's talking about is Haley is going to, oh man, what's the big event in Maryland, I believe? Somebody probably knows the name of it. Like, I want to say it's the Big Fish deal. Don't quote me on that, but something like that. Anyways, they're setting up some tanks that they're going to, from what I understand, they're going to like aquascape them, and then they're going to donate them. I don't know if they're donating them to charity or they're doing raffles. I don't know the details on that. It's a Big Fish deal. So that's Haley's going to that. I think I saw King and Queen Cichlids possibly is in on that tank build deal. Thanks, Zen. Zen just posted a link to it. Well, anyways, Haley, I guess, is organizing it, and she reached out to me to see if SE Aquatics would donate some products to the build. And I said, of course. I mean, I believe it's for charity, but definitely want to get involved with that. So I donated heaters for the tanks, hang-on back filters for the tanks, and they wanted fertilizer, so I gave them a few bottles, I think a bottle for each tank. So that way, whoever buys the tank can have a bottle of the fertilizer to take home, and they can continue using the fertilizer. Of the 614 fertilizer, the house brand for. So she just got that box today of those items. So I can't wait to see some videos of that whole build and see what they come up with. It should be pretty interesting, and it's going to be awesome either way. Got my water. But for the blogs, I think we'll start with the heating because that's going to be easy for me, because right now I've been dealing with the heaters. I switched to primarily using the oil-filled heater this winter versus the forced air. Pam says she needs to work and lurk for a bit anyways. If you guys don't know Pam, who's Punchy Paints, she does some amazing artwork, and she does a lot of, it's all around nature. Most of it's all around nature. I bought her calendar. It had like a bear, had ducks. The ducks were probably my favorite picture, because I would have swore it was a real picture, and not a painting. I would put money on it that was just a filter applied through Instagram on that picture. It was amazing. The detail on it, and I think the water is what really got me. It was a really amazing picture. So great job on that, Pam. So, anyways, the heaters, I switched over to the oil-filled heater this year, and that was a cost thing. So I wanted to see, I ran the forced air heater last winter, and I wanted to run the oil-filled heater this winter. So it's kind of almost like a 1.5 year long test of these heaters to see what's better and why one would be better than the other. And really, it's kind of a toss-up between the two. The oil-filled heater takes way longer to initially heat up the room. But the bonus of it is, since it's filled with oil, once it gets hot, it turns off, but it's still retaining a lot of heat. So that's the bonus, is that it's still producing heat even when it's not using electricity. The downside is it's purely radiant, so the heat just kind of rises up from it. It's not forced out into the room. So to really benefit what it can do, you almost need like a little fan. Like, you don't need something crazy, but you need a little fan to kind of circulate the air around your room. The forced air heater heats up instantly. Like as soon as you turn it on, the coils start glowing orange, and you got hot air coming out. And it's forcing the hot air out into your room, so it's great for that. My room's not that big, so it heats it up pretty quickly. And one of the bonuses, which I didn't even think about, and it's kind of, it seems like it might be kind of hard to explain, but I do have a great example. But what's hard to explain is using the forced heat, it helps kind of dry the air out. I think it's with all of the tanks that I have in such a small room, the moisture in the air, the humidity gets kind of high. And then with that fan pulling that humidity in and then it goes through those coils, it kind of like burns it off. So it helps lower the humidity, not like a ton, but it helps lower it in my room. The oil heater doesn't do that at all. So the humidity is always higher. And I do have a humidity gauge in the fish room, so I can physically feel it and I can physically see it on the gauge. So I know that that's something that I didn't think of prior to doing those heaters, but that's kind of the pro and con of those, is that it helps reduce humidity too. But I can tell you that using the oil-filled heater this winter over the other one, my electricity bill was lower consistently month after month. And granted, maybe last winter was colder versus this winter, but overall, the electricity bill was definitely lower this season. And I think majority of that is due to the oil holding the temperature for longer periods. So the dwell time is higher. So it kicks on for so long, but it's off for so long, where the forced air heater cycles a lot more. Aqua Funkaquax is here. How's it going, buddy? I saw you were in, was it Rob's live stream? But I hope you're doing well. So like with tank heaters and individual tank heaters, if you're running a 100-watt heater in all the tanks, you could match the output of a forced air blower in just 15 tanks as far as power consumption. The downside is if your blower motor goes out on your forced air heater, you're going to know it. You go on your fish room, you can feel the temperature coming down. A lot of times when you got multiple tanks, you might not notice a heater that failed. And the problem with the heater is it could fail off, it could fail on, or it could just blow up. I've seen heaters crack, the glass can crack, or the plastic at the top can separate, and then you get water in it. And I actually have one. I kept it. I had a nano heater fail on me months ago, and I've never had a heater physically fail. I've had them where they just stop working. It's kind of a common thing. Heaters are wear items. They cycle on and off so much, and they're electronic. They eventually will just fail. You don't want one failing within a month or 2 months or 3 months, but over a year, 2 years, it's quite possible that they just fail. And then I just dumped a bunch of crap all over. So this is a nano heater, and this is how I pulled it out of the tank. I think the seal on the top failed, and I think it was a manufacturing defect because I have another one. It's in this beta tank, and this is the tank that failed in. I think the seal at the top failed and allowed water in. And I came home, I came into this room, the office, and I could smell like burning electrical. And I thought it was maybe something with my computer set up. You know, I have printer and heat shrinker and all this stuff going on in here. So I was like, oh man. And it turned out it was coming from the tank. This thing melted, and luckily the wires came out, and then the weight of the wires pulled it out of the tank. So the tank wasn't hot with electricity, but this was hot sitting on the desk. Once I realized what was going on, I unplugged it. And the issue I had is this thing like electronically blew up inside, and it released all this dust into the tank. And the beta fish is fine. It survived. It was definitely gasping at the surface, and I had to do big water changes on it. I basically changed this water out 6 times, and the beta stayed in a holding tank just on the side until I was sure that the water was all right. But I ended up keeping this, and this is the first time I think I've even shown it, but I had a heater, even a small one, fail on me. And this was only a few months old when it happened. So it can happen to anybody. So when you're heating the room, you don't have to worry about 15 individual tank heaters. Even if you took money aside, yes, it's more cost effective to heat a room. Just not having to worry about one tank crashing, because if you leave for a weekend and you don't do anything in your fish room, fish are fine for days without feeding. It's not a huge deal like some people might say it is. The fish will be fine, but if a heater fails and you got a fish that, let's say you got discus tank and they want to be in the 80s and your fish room is, I keep my house cold. I like my house cold. That's why I heat the fish room. My house is like 68 degrees, and a discus tank, they might end up dying if it gets down to into the 60s. I don't quote me on that, but I don't know. I know they're hot water fish, but and it could go the opposite way. If a heater fails stuck on, you can end up what they call boiling the fish, and especially if you have a small tank and your water temp gets up into the 90s, or if they can even go higher. I'm not sure. I haven't experienced that, so I don't want to give out false information, but I know they can stick on and your temps can skyrocket. So yeah, I mean, that's why I prefer. And I've actually ran into firsthand experience. It was probably like 3 weeks ago. My circuit breaker tripped that my oil-filled heater was on, and you're not supposed to run heaters through a circuit breaker to begin with. They're supposed to be plugged directly in the wall. I know that, and I still plugged it into a circuit breaker, but it tripped the circuit breaker for whatever reason. And I'm running I think it's a 200 watt heater on one of my rain barrels. And I think honestly what happens, I think they both kicked on at the same time and it overloaded the circuit and it tripped the breaker. And it happened sometime during the night. And the reason I knew something happened is because when I went out there in the morning to let the dogs out before work, I noticed the room was cooler. Typically that room is 75 to 77 degrees. It kind of fluctuates within those 2 degrees. When I went out there, it was like 70. Tanks are still fine. The tanks typically are, at least in my fish room, are 2 to 3 degrees cooler than air temp versus the ambient temp. So if the room is 78, the tank water is like 75. But so I went out there and I just noticed. I'm like, hey, the heat's not on. What's going on? I found that the strip was tripped. I didn't know if it was an actual electrical issue. So I left it off, and I have my forced air heater. So it's good having redundant things, but it's at the other end of the room. That's where it always sits, because when it turns on, it forces air down the length of the room. So I turned that one on, and I went to work. And this kind of brings up, I'm getting a side thought here, with mentioning Papa Shrimp having electrical fire in his fish room. So that's a real thing, and I don't know what caused it, if it was an extension cord failure, if it was a power strip failure, if it was a heater failure. I don't know. I just know that when I talked to him, he said the fire department thought it was something fish related, because that's where like the center of the fire started, was around his fish tanks. And there's, when you have a bunch of fish tanks, you have a bunch of electrical wiring. You have maybe hang-on back filters, canister filters. You have lights. You have air pumps. There's a lot going on with electricity there. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And the only thing you can do is try to be preventive and proactive with electricity. You want to try to make sure that your power strips and power cords have drip loops in them. So that way, for any reason, if water overflows the tank, it doesn't follow that cord straight down to an outlet. It's not even just an outlet. So if you have power strips, you want to try hang your power strips up on a wall or on the rack, and try to think of ways, try to get you this detective mindset going and think of ways water to get to where you're at. And I saw Zen Ginger just posted the GoFundMe for Papa Shrimp. I donated, if you guys, instead of donating $5 super chat this week to one of your favorite guys, maybe you can donate that $5 to the GoFundMe. He lost a lot of things, a lot of personal belongings. He did release a video kind of walking through the house after the fire. And, even though the house is still standing, he lost so much just due to smoke damage. And he lost a lot of his fish tanks. Luckily, some of the tanks he was moving out to his garage, but he lost a lot in his second story. And luckily, the fish community, typically we have, in my opinion, we got one of the best communities on YouTube. Because if you channel hop and I see all these names, and these names are constantly in other live streams. You had Rob before me, and people from Rob came to this live stream, and then after my live stream is Dan's Fish, and I'll be there. And I was in Bob Kaler's live stream earlier, and a lot of times I'll be out working on something in the other room, and I'll just play the live stream on the TV, and I'll listen. And especially when I'm working in the fish room, I forget what I'm up to. I think I have 45 tanks now, and that's not counting the betta barracks I'm building. And I just drilled a bunch of tanks last night for that. And that's another thing. I got so much stuff going on in my head right now. I just started an Instagram account yesterday, and that was I think the first picture was drilling these fish tanks for betta fish. I went with the Lee's containers. I mentioned it before. So think of these guys, but I went with the much bigger one. This is the mini version. I went with the mediums. They're about that long, probably about that tall. I think it's 3 gallons or almost 3 gallons of water capacity. It's actually probably bigger than I need. I should get the small version, so the step under it, but bigger than this, and see what those are like. I know Shishi's Bubble Nest. She uses Lee's Critter Keepers as well for her betta fish. But yeah, so that's coming out soon. I'm running a 10-gallon sump on it, and it's going to be a central system. So each tank gets water from the sump, and then each tank goes back to the sump. So I'm not doing a flow through. It's going to be a central system. But without those, I think I'm adding, that would be 14 tanks. And I'm not counting the sump or anything like that, but that should be adding another 14 tanks to what I'm maintaining. And so I like to play people's live streams and videos and listen while I'm doing this kind of work. So that's what I was doing with Bob's channel earlier. I was listening in. I actually had my cell phone sitting on my fish rack. I usually comment hey guys, howdy, something like that. But then honestly, I'm probably doing fishy things and just listening. Whoever just placed an order, thank you. Appreciate that. So betas are coming. So I have 10 betas here right now. They're doing great. And I've talked about them before when I got them in the fish order. Man, they're just a lot of fun. I can unbox 100 green neons, and they look okay in a fishing, a fish shipping bag. Now that they're in the tank, they look great. But man, when I unbox the betta fish, there's all this different colors and different finish. It really made me excited. So I really want to do more and more betas. I'm doing the what you see is what you get on buying them. Each tank is going to be labeled, so whatever you see online is what you're going to actually get. So there's no guesswork as far as that goes. Let's see. Bob says, what's IG account? I don't know if you're trolling me or not, Bob, but Instagram, it's basically just pictures. You don't really post anything else. It's kind of weird. It's something that Josh from Ohio Fish Rescue said I should start doing. So I started it. And I think it's SE Aquatics was taken, like the username. So I think I'm at 614fish. I just used the website. I think Zen already posted it. She's on top of it. Yeah, Zen, that's not me. Thank you though. Yeah, SE Aquatics was already taken. Let's try. I think it's 614fish. Yeah, it's 614fish. Yeah, sorry, that's not me. Somebody already had it, so I couldn't use it. I know people do like crazy names, like instead of like SC Aquatics, they might like instead of the S, they might do like a 3 or some weird crap. I just wanted something easy, so I think I went with the 614fish. So yeah, it's Instagram.com/614fish. There's probably like one picture on there, but I just started it, so I gotta get into the swing of that. And it feels like I need a social media director between trying to do blog posts, Facebook updates, responding to emails, now Instagram. There's a lot that has to go into keeping the wheels turning. Oh, Bob says I have Instagram and was asking what yours is. Yeah, it's at 614fish. So yeah, I guess Instagram will be easier for me to manage, and I like the idea of being able to just post pictures because there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, I really want to show this off, but I don't want to make a video about it just for like showing something quick. And so I think it's going to be cool, and I'll be able to use that. I just got to remember to do it. And OFR is helping me with some of my social media stuff, which I appreciate. They're giving me some tips and tricks, so I really appreciate Josh, especially helping me with that stuff. I just looked up and saw where Aquafunk said Instagram. He was talking to Bob. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Don't beat Bob up too much. I mean, that was probably my fault. I misunderstood him. But yeah, I had a personal Instagram account. I just never really used it. I've had it for years and years, and maybe once a year I'd upload some picture, and it usually was probably like car related or something like that. But now that social media is advertising these days, I have to get into it just to keep the avenues of people getting to the website moving. And that's why I kind of wanted the email. The email subscriber it makes it a little bit easier on me. I can do one email and have it go out to everybody saying like, "Hey, like this fish just came in." I have a lot of fish coming in. They didn't come in this week. It's delayed until next week, so it should be on Tuesday. Hundreds and hundreds of fish are coming in. Not hundreds of kinds, but hundreds in total. And I think I'm going to do the fish sales at least once a month. Right now, it's the Congo Tetras. And then I'm going to do, like I said, the double discount on subscribers to the email where they can get even bigger discounts on that stuff. Because I don't plan on doing like a rewards system where like people spend money, they get points. I feel like that's just going to be too much work. And some of this stuff, the profit margin is really low on to keep pricing competitive with other online retailers. So something where you're like, man, that's expensive. I might be making like $2 off of. And by the time you pay fees and all that stuff, it's, some of the profits not very great. But that's why my business plan is to go for volume versus making a ton of money off everybody. But with the channel growing 50% this week, that was a big kind of like uplifting motivation. Aquafunk, it's 614fish.com. I'm sure Zen will probably post it here in a second. But yeah, it's 614. It's the area code. Once again, seaquatics.com was taken. I think when I originally went to sign up for it a couple years ago, it was like a college. I don't know if it was like South Carolina University or who it was, but it was I believe it was a university or college that had that website. So 614 is my area code, and that's how I kind of just did it. And it's kind of got its own brand going now with the 614 products. And I have my own fertilizer for planted tanks, the alder cones. If I don't knock, this is like the big bag of alder cones. So when people are doing botanicals in their tanks, and there's normally a label, I just haven't labeled this bag. Knock. This is like the big bag of alder cones. So when people are doing botanicals in their tanks, and there's normally a label, I just haven't labeled this bag thing. Aquafunk is I have media pads now, and I just have 3 here because I was doing pictures of them. But like media pads is the right side up, like polyfill ones, polyfleece, carbon ones. So these are the ones that you can cut and put them into like a hang-on back filter, put them into a canister filter. I have a trickle tower filter on one of my rack systems. I use these in my drawers. But this one's a nitrate reducing one. So it's coated with chemicals and that remove nitrates. So say if you have a nitrate spike and you don't want it and water changing is not helping, you can use one of these to help temporarily reduce them. You're not supposed to use this as a long-term thing. There's an ammonia one that reduces ammonia, and it's not to reduce ammonia the whole time you have a tank. It's not what that's for. It's for if you have, maybe you're adding a bunch of fish and you want just some added protection against ammonia spike, you can run the ammonia pad. So there's special times for each thing. The biggest sellers are the poly ones, just plain filter material. And the other big one would be the carbon infused. So that way you're getting that carbon to help pull really fine particles out of your water. And it helps remove medications. If you've, if you ran medications, you want to pull out of the water, carbon's good at that too. Just seeing. Are heating pads good for fish tanks or safe to use? So honestly, that's something I want to know. So I used to, before I did all the fish things, I used to have ball pythons. And this room actually used to have the ball pythons. I had the breeder specific rack enclosures for the ball pythons to breed mine. I had all the different morphs of colors and patterns, and I used the heating pads that would attach to the bottom of whatever, bottom to an aquarium, to the bottom of the plastic bins. And I always wondered how that would work. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I don't know. I've never read anything about it. The only issue I see is that you're heating the substrate up from below versus the water column. And then you have to have that kind of radiant heat up. So I don't know how that works. I know you shouldn't use it inside water, but I know with like my reptile cages, it was attached to the bottom of the aquarium, not inside the tank. So something like, you don't have to worry about water on it unless you had a tank leak. But yeah, as far as heating water, I don't know the thermal properties of how that works. So I'm not the person for that. Aquafunk says I do not recommend that. So yeah, I don't know about it. I'd be curious if somebody did, or somebody finds a video on somebody testing that. I would love to watch it because I want to know. I see there's some people here from OFR. I see Justin's here, just tuning in. Big Rich sent me checking out from Wisconsin. Hello, buddy. In case you don't know, I'm in Ohio, so not too far away from you. But I know we have multiple regulars here that are actually in Wisconsin. Papa Shrimp updated and said, Red Cross has helped me with temporary housing. That's good. I know that Jason from Jattering Aquatics went to Papa Shrimp's house and helped take, I don't know if he took fish or shrimp or a little bit of everything, but to hold them until Papa Shrimp can get everything back underway. But we have 32 people here, so I really should try to keep track of how many people I've had. That's definitely in the upper end, which is awesome. Like, thank you guys. 32. I remember starting off and I had like 3 live chatters to talk to. So even hitting 20 or 30 it's cool to keep the chat rolling. And with the channel growing, it's just going to continue to grow. And I'm really enjoying this now. But I'm going to scroll up through the chat. We only have a few minutes left. I think looks like 4 minutes left before Dan's Fish comes on. And I recommend, if you're not following Dan's Fish, go check out his live streams. He's got a lot of information about specific breeds of fish. He also runs dansfish.com. And he is, I guess you could say we're competitors, but honestly, with the Fish Fam, I have no problem plugging a company that I don't mind, don't dislike. I think he's doing good things. So you can, Get Gills is his business. Getgills.com. I think he's also got dansfish.com, and it just links you back to Get Gills. But you can go to getgills.com. Dan's Fish. Zen Ginger just posted Dan's Fish YouTube account link, so thank you for that. But yeah, I'm here to help support other companies in the business because it's a great family that we have. And I meant to talk about this earlier. I think I started to and then kind of got sidetracked. But the Fish Fam community is way better than most other communities that I can even think of. The Fish Fam is definitely smaller community on YouTube. Obviously, like, the gaming community is huge. You have all these gamers that are doing their live streams. That community is huge, but you don't hear them helping out small channels with donations because their house caught fire, or like Candy Overhaul's doing the GoFundMe for her to help her out. And she's, a moderator and helps everybody out. She's a great person, and all the mods are. But I think our community is just really good. It's good people. And I think we have probably the best community on YouTube. And that's because of everybody here, everybody that's in this live stream right now, everybody's going to watch it later. It's because of you guys that we have this great community. And the love and support, even with like Ohio Fish Rescue with Tracy, I'm a moderator for their channel. The love and support is great. And yes, so Zen, I'm super glad I made you a moderator last week. You are on top of it. And somebody in Bob's channel said that they were training you to be a Candy number 2 type deal, and you're doing fantastic. So thank you so much. But yeah, so I'm just going to end the live stream tonight with talking about, the Fish Fam and how awesome everybody is, and especially with like helping my channel grow. A lot of people came from Ohio Fish Rescue, saw my post on the Facebook page for Ohio Fish Rescue, saw me, asking for help for this growth, and Big Rich asking for, some support, and even Josh posted. I really appreciate you guys subscribing. That means a lot to me. And I'm this close to hitting that 1,000 mark, and I will do some live streams and from mobile. My first mobile live stream, I think I'm going to try to make a big deal about, it was from Ohio Fish Rescue. I'll try to go up there and do a live stream from maybe the pool room or something like that. But I do want to do 1,000 subs giveaway. I'm going to give away some, I think, fish and gear, and I might do like multiple winners. I might do like drawing 1 will be fish, drawing 2 will be some fish foods, drawing 3 will be maybe 614 products, and I'll pay for shipping and all that. And so I looked into the whole Nightbot thing to get that going, but that's going to come as soon as I hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, and I'll do a special live stream for that. We'll chit chat for a little bit, get the raffle going or the drawing, and give away some free fish and food and some other products, because I really appreciate you guys and I want to give back. So if I can give 3 people some free goodies, then I want to do it. But Dan's Fish should be going live. I don't know if he's live right now, but it is 9 o'clock, so I'm gonna take off from here, wrap up what I got going on here. But once again, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. If I didn't get to your chat message, I'm sorry. Once this updates, I'll go through and read the comments and try to respond to whoever. Tiffany, I saw that you just posted, and you're saying that you are so new. I have not even set my first tank yet, but I'm trying to do mad research and thrilled to find a community out there. Thank you for caring. Tiffany, you are way ahead of the game. Everybody else, go ahead and switch over to Dan's live stream. I'm just going to finish this out talking to Tiffany. Tiffany, you're doing research before you even buy your first fish tank. That's all success in my mind. Most people go to a fish store, they see a fish, I want that fish. They buy the tank at the same time, and typically, if they're not informed, they didn't do the research, they're set up for failure from the get-go. They don't probably know about the tank cycle and making sure that you cycle the tank, and then they're going to be back a few days later because their fish died, and probably because they overfed it too. So they didn't have the beneficial bacteria, and then they overfed it, caused an ammonia spike, and killed the fish. So you just saying that you're so new that you're doing your research, I don't know you. This is the first time I've seen you. I'm proud of you. Like, that's awesome. Like, do your research, and the more you can learn, like, knowledge is power. And I've talked about it before in way long live streams ago. Just remember, just because you hear somebody say it online doesn't mean it's set in stone. And for an example of that, I've seen people say sand does not work for plants, and I have the exact opposite. I grow plants in sand like crazy. The theory behind it was sand compaction, roots won't work. All my tanks are sand. I only have a couple tanks of gravel, mainly because sand's so cheap is the reason I started with it. And now it's like, hey, like, I have great luck. But you'll have some channels that don't have any luck with sand, and that might be because of their water parameters, where they're at in the world. LRB Aquatics is a few hours from me, and he has really good luck with sand as well. So I think it might be a water parameter type deal too. But yeah, just because you hear somebody say it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. So research is key, and I'm glad you're doing research first. So that's awesome. Tiffany said, "What can I say? I'm a science nerd. Thank you." Well, hey, it's, if you're really into science, the fish hobby is like a perfect hobby, because there's a lot of science involved in it sometimes, especially when you get into like breeding and getting into like what triggers fish breeding. Is it water changes? Is it temperature changes? Is it a season thing with like storms? There's a lot that can go into it. So there's a lot of science, and that's what keeps it fun and interesting. But I see the live views drops? I'm assuming Dan's live. I'm gonna hop over to Dan's channel. Zen just posted a link. So thank you guys once again so much for hanging out. I will see you next Wednesday, and I'm going to try to do a live stream randomly on the weekend so I can go longer than just the hour. But thanks, guys, and I'll see you later.